Welcome to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show, hosted by Mason Kern. He keeps his nose to the ground to report on what's trending in professional and college sports, to inform, enlighten, and entertain. And now it's
the Sports Watchdog.
the Sports Watchdog, Mason Kern.
Hey everyone, you're listening to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060 Phoenix. As always, I'm your host, Mason Kern, joining you every Sunday, and as usual, I got some great stuff in my kennel for you guys. We got two awesome interviews today. The first, going to be with NFL player, wide receiver Landon Cox, and then after that, we also have an interview with NASCAR Truck Series driver Ryan Reed, so be sure you stay tuned for both of those awesome interviews. Going to be a great time talking to them. And then we also have, as always, our sports hot topics. And for you basketball-specific fans, like you know I am, but we always have our interesting happenings on the hardwood, so stay tuned. All right, guys, in Sports Hot Topics this week, we're going to be talking about Major League Baseball, and I know spring training is going on here in Arizona, and I'm going to kind of talk about that a little bit, but stick more to the free agency, because the two biggest free agents, like I said, I think a couple shows back, or it might have been last week, that I was going to keep you updated on kind of the free agency and how it's looking. Still, I mean, quite a few free agents who haven't signed, but kind of the two biggest names from this season cycle, or I guess rather the off-season cycle, Bryce Harper and Manny Machado have both found homes for their upcoming future seasons. Now, Manny Machado was the first to sign with a team. He's going to San Diego to play for the Padres at Petco Park, which is kind of been deemed a pitcher's park by a lot of people, so we'll see if he can continue his pretty gaudy numbers while he's playing there. It was a 10-year, $300 million deal with an opt-out clause after his fifth year and a 6-team no-trade list. So for the foreseeable future, Manny Machado is going to be in San Diego up until, unless he opts out, of course. He's 36 years old. Going to be quite interesting, like I said, to see what kind of production he gets at Petco Park, as well as playing in Dodger Stadium, where he was a Dodger for a time, as well as multiple series in Arizona against the Diamondbacks at Chase Field, which is a lot more friendly to power hitters. And then so everyone was waiting on seeing what Bryce Harper would do, especially considering there was so much buzz surrounding this offseason class of free agents. And Bryce Harper is going to be a Philadelphia Philly. He's leaving the Nationals, going to play for the Phillies on a 13-year, $330 million contract. It's the biggest contract in sports history. And although the annual rate is actually cheaper than Machado and even Nolan Arenado, who I'll get to in a second, but Bryce Harper is he wanted a longer deal, so hence the 13 years. There's no opt-out clauses. There is a no-trade clause. So Bryce Harper will extend probably throughout the remainder of his playing career as a Philadelphia Philly, and Philadelphia spent big money on it, $330 million over 13 years. Sure, I mean, like I said, the annual rate is actually cheaper than a lot of these other guys, but Bryce Harper wanted to be in one place kind of for the remainder of his career. So that was obviously huge news, the two big ones. And then another big one who isn't leaving teams, more of like a contract extension type thing, Nolan Arenado, like I mentioned earlier, staying with the Colorado Rockies on an 8-year, $260 million contract. That's $32.5 million per year, and that is actually the highest total per annual total in MLB history. Now, Bryce Harper, his total contract, $330 million over that 13-year period, that is the biggest all-time deal in the Major League Baseball history. Giancarlo Stanton, however, comes in second with his deal with the Miami Marlins, which was 13 years, $325 million, which obviously now he's a New York Yankee, took on his contract. Machado's deal ranked third, with Alex Rodriguez his deal with the New York Yankees, 10-year, $275 million, coming in at fourth, and then Nolan Arenado rounding that out at fifth with the 8-year, $260 million deal. So the three deals this offseason, the three biggest ones at least, cracked the top five in MLB history. So obviously huge money being spent, and it kind of paves the way for a Mike Trout offseason when he hits the free agent market next season. But don't go away, guys. The Sports Watchdog Radio Show on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060. Will be right back after this quick break.
If you're losing your hair or notice that it's getting thinner, listen closely. You can do something about it without messy lotions or drugs. Now you can get clinically proven hair growth results at home with the Hair Max Laser. Hair Max delivers nourishing laser light energy to stimulate hair growth right at the roots. It's FDA cleared, recommended by doctors, and best of all, it has an amazing 93% success rate in clinical studies in both men and women, so you can be sure it works. Use it just 3 times a week and experience new hair growth, increased density, and healthier, fuller, more attractive hair in just weeks with a 5-month money-back guarantee. Now, for a limited time, save 15% on your HairMax order at hairmax.com. Type in code RADIO at checkout or call 1-800-9REGROW. That's hairmax.com, code RADIO, or 1-800-9REGROW. Experience real hair growth and save 15% with HairMax.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Once again, you're listening to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060 Phoenix. I'm your host, Mason Kern, and joining us now is Landon Cox, the former NFL wide receiver and current Director of Athletics and College Support for the Beyond Sports Foundation. Landon was a 3-year football starter at Thornton Fractional North High School in Calumet City, Illinois, before playing wide receiver at Northern Illinois University. He then played in the NFL for teams such as the Cincinnati Bengals and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Landon is here today to share some more info into his football career as well as what he's been up to since. So with that, hey Landon, welcome to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing amazing, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on. So first off, I always like to ask football players and athletes just kind of how they got their start in the sport that they played. So for you, how did you, or just what was your story? How did you start playing football?
Well, it's crazy. Growing up, I was a kid with a lot of energy, always energetic, always into something. And basically my dad was looking for something to place that energy into, and football just happened to be the sport for us to do that. And then right as soon as I stepped on the field, I fell in love with the game, and it just went on from there, man.
Right, yeah, and then as you kind of grow up, you've been playing football, you go to high school. What was kind of the point where you realized, hey, this could become something pretty serious at the college level maybe, and then even possibly an NFL career?
Well, you know what's so crazy is I honestly felt that, and this is all honesty, the minute I stepped on the field. I realized that now I had an outlet. Somewhere, if I had any aggression, if I had, any situations that I just needed to deflect, football was it. It was basically my getaway. The first game I ever had, I played offensive line and defensive line. In my first game, I had 7 sacks.
Wow.
I think three of them were on run plays. And then so right when now I kind of figured, I was like, man, I have a pretty good natural instinct for this game, and this game may take me somewhere.
Right, and then as you kind of get older, the positions kind of become a little bit more important. So how did you gravitate then toward becoming a wide receiver?
So initially, I played offensive line and defensive line. I was a pretty big kid, and I played in a Pop Warner football league. The team was called South Holland Jets. As I began to kind of grow into my body, I kind of grew taller, but I kind of remained pretty lean and pretty skinny. I then started playing linebacker and running back, and then from there, that's when I transitioned into more of like a safety/receiver. Once I got to high school, I figured I was about 6'2". As a freshman, about 170, and I could run pretty well. I figured it'll be best if I was on the edge or kind of on defense from a safety perspective or playing receiver.
Okay, yeah. I mean, and then just as you kind of settle into your role, you play, like I said, 3-year starter in high school, and then you go to Northern Illinois University, you play football there. What's just the transition like going from high school football to the college level, and then even beyond that, as you make your NFL career, the transition then from college football to the NFL?
Well, from high school to college, you realize that there's a much different mental approach. these guys are all out here competing, and a lot of these guys are on scholarships. A lot of these guys have worked hard to get to the point that they're at, just like you have. So you have to have a much better mental approach, and now it's like a day after day thing. So you have meetings, you have to wake up, you have study tables, you got to make sure you're on time or you get in trouble. So it's definitely more of a mental commitment, and discipline plays a huge factor. And then transitioning from college to NFL, you realize that now you're a professional. This is your job. This is what you get paid to do. If you don't do your job, then you won't be there in it. And even sometimes, in a lot of situations, even if you do your job and do it well, because there's so many individuals who are good, still may not end up being there.
Right.
So you have to take it from a professional approach and have a certain level of professionalism once you get to the NFL and understand that this NFL is not for long.
Right, yeah, and I mean that whole mindset definitely. I mean, that transitionary mindset, it's definitely key in doing so. And just for you, as you, I mean, you kind of achieve the peak, you make it to the NFL. What was the proudest moment, would you say, or at least one of your playing career?
I would say the proudest moment was stepping on the field for the first time as an NFL athlete.
Right.
I came out in 2011 during the lockout season. I didn't get drafted. So a lot of guys were just sitting waiting around, and I was one of them, kind of not knowing when the NFL was going to start or even know if you were going to get an opportunity this year. You think we may have to wait until 2012 to even get an opportunity. So being able to once the lockout ended and being able to have that opportunity to be a part of the team, once I got to Cincinnati with the Bengals and stepped on that field, I was like, yeah, this is what I put all the work in for.
Right.
It was an amazing feeling.
Right, yeah, I'm sure, and just kind of getting there, being a part of that, having that pride. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of lessons to be learned just from playing the sport, and then realizing. I mean, once you do make that transition, like you said, you have to have that professional mindset once you make it to the NFL level. So, what was kind of one of the biggest lessons you learned just from this sport of football as a whole?
Well, football is a motor of man. You have this. You learn how to work with others. You build this team. And this feeling of camaraderie, it definitely builds you up. When you're in situations of adversity, sometimes it's nothing tougher than going through like a football camp. There's so many ups and downs. You all are competing for one purpose, and that's for that first game and to be able to win that first game. So it's preparation, and then working with others, and then working through adversity to get to a certain point where you can build a winning mentality. All of those tie into kind of who you are as an individual. These are lessons and these are characteristics that you can take into the real world and in your real life.
Right, yeah, and then you leave the NFL and get involved with the Beyond Sports Foundation, like I mentioned. So how has your life just kind of changed since leaving, and then how did you get involved with some of these various initiatives?
Well, once, kind of growing up, I always knew I wanted to work with people. I'm a big believer in serving. Serving in some way for the greater good. The youth, they're the future. So being able to have an opportunity to do what I do, which is work with student athletes, high school student athletes, and work with younger adults, is something that I always felt like would be good, for me, and then just a rewarding feeling. So right after football ended, I became a performance coach and trainer, but I also began working with student athletes. They were a part of our Beyond Sports Foundation, and it gave me the opportunity to be able to take everything that I learned growing up off the field and on the field and be able to apply it and give it to others.
Right, yeah, and I'm sure that's pretty, rewarding being able to kind of do that and kind of do what you love, kind of falling into this perfect role for you. So what has just kind of been the most rewarding part or some of the most rewarding aspects of this profession for you?
No, the most rewarding part is seeing them succeed. We deal with a lot of different student athletes, and a lot of them don't come from the best backgrounds, and a lot of them don't come from the best situations. So when you have an opportunity to help them through whatever their potential issues are, or whatever their adversities that they're going through currently, and be able to come out on the other side successful, see them do that is the most rewarding thing ever. I tell my kids all the time, always take your future self into account in whatever you do.
Right.
So everything that you do now is going to prepare you for the next day or for your next moment or for your next opportunity. So seeing them be able to take advantage of things we teach and be able to apply it and be successful, that is the most rewarding part.
Yeah, that's definitely, pretty inspirational, especially for those kids for sure. Well, Landon, we're running out of time. Thank you so much for your time. Where can our listeners go to get more info or just to connect with you?
You can go to www.beyondsports.org. At that website, you will find all the information, and you get to learn a little bit more about what we do at the Beyond Sports Foundation.
But there you go, guys. Make sure to go check out the website. Definitely lots of great information there if you want to learn out more. Thank you so much again, Landon. All right, everyone, the Sports Watchdog Radio Show on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060. Will be right back after this.
Hey, travel lovers, if you want to up your luggage game, check out EagleCreek.com, an innovative and durable line that's sustainably made with PVC-free materials. One stellar option is the Orf Trunk 36, a big bag crafted for big adventure. It's hard to find upright luggage that puts as much into durable and useful features as this one does. Built with all explorers in mind, the Orf Trunk 36 is lightweight, dependable, and efficient, with wet and dry compartments, multi-point handles, a cargo net for internal compression or outside gear attachment, puncture-resistant lockable zippers, central lock point security, oversized treaded wheels, padded laptop sleeves, and more. This luggage seemingly has it all. It even has a key fob quarter key bottle opener. Plus, there's free shipping on all orders and a no-matter-what lifetime warranty. Shop now at EagleCreek.com. That's EagleCreek.com.
Hey everybody, welcome back. You're listening to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060 Phoenix. I'm your host, Mason Kern, and joining us now is Ryan Reed, the NASCAR Truck Series driver for DGR Crossley. Ryan is a prime example of inspiration, living out his dream while also dealing with type 1 diabetes since his diagnosis at age 17. Over the past 5 seasons, Ryan has earned 2 wins, 7 top 5, and 26 top 10 finishes. When he's not on the track, he brings awareness for diabetes by being a Dexcom warrior, JDRF, and Beyond Type 1 ambassador. So Ryan is here to discuss his professional career and overcoming type 1 diabetes to continue to achieve his dreams. So with that, Ryan, thank you so much for joining us on the show. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Just hanging out in Las Vegas, getting ready for some truck racing.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely want to get into that a little bit. So just before I get into that, how do you get your start in this kind of profession of truck racing?
Yeah, I think that it's so interesting. As a race car driver, there's so many different avenues you can go down early on in your career. For me, it was always a lot of asphalt racing, and a lot of guys come up racing on dirt, from go-karts to sprint cars and so on and so forth. I was always an asphalt guy. My dad raced, and so I grew up in California watching my dad race. And from the time I can remember, I was just in love with the sport. And so I grew up racing go-karts, and then late models and Legends cars and different stuff to kind of cut my teeth growing up in California. And then when I had the opportunity to move out to North Carolina and drive for some race teams out there, I took them, and one thing led to another, and I was able to find sponsorship and sign with an Xfinity team, and as you mentioned, raced 5 years in the Xfinity series, and it was so amazing. 2 wins at Daytona, which is our Super Bowl, and so I feel like over the last 5 years I've accomplished so many of my dreams and goals, and just want to keep going and continue to live my dream.
Right, and because of kind of that family history, like you said, your dad was a racer as well. Do you think that had a pretty big impact on you and then leading you into this kind of profession?
Yeah, absolutely. Growing up watching my dad race and being at the racetrack, at first watching him, but I started racing go-karts when I was 4 years old. And so, it was like, I don't remember a lot about, watching my dad when I was little, except for that I just know that anytime I was at the racetrack, I was so happy, whether I was watching my dad race or, when the time came for me to start racing go-karts. And, it was so cool for a lot of reasons, obviously just passionate about the sport, but then also, it was something that me and my dad really bonded over. My whole family really, is a family thing. And, we spent so much time, at the racetrack or going from race to race, and it was just something that my whole family was so passionate about and so dedicated to. And for my dad to be able to accomplish so much, and then, for me to continue to kind of live out that that family dream is pretty special and something that, I'm really proud of, and I know my whole family's proud of.
Right, yeah, I mean, that's definitely really cool. And then, like I said, I mean, getting diagnosed at age 17 with type 1 diabetes, did that kind of impact your path, or did you kind of use that as motivation to keep pushing a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say both. It definitely impacted it, but then also, too, it was a huge source of motivation. I mentioned moving out to North Carolina from California when I was 17, and right before I made the move, I got pretty sick and was diagnosed with diabetes, type 1 diabetes, and they told me I'd never race again. So it was, a huge impact. It kind of put everything on hold, and I went ahead and moved back out to North Carolina, and do a lot of research, and obviously it was a lot to learn about how to manage a lifelong disease. But I was able to find a doctor. Her name's Ann Peters, who works with a lot of different athletes. She's worked with Olympians. She's worked with so many different individuals that accomplish amazing things while living with diabetes. And she turned everything around, got me back in a race car, and there's so much technology out there that helps individuals manage diabetes. And I know for me the biggest thing was when I was put on a Dexcom, which is a continuous glucose monitor, but essentially it allows me to watch my blood sugar. There's a unit that mounts on the dash next to my other gauges that tells me what my blood sugar is at all times, and that allows me the freedom to get in the race car and know that I know exactly where my blood sugar is at all times, which is kind of the key to managing your diabetes. And so, once Ann put me on my Dexcom, that was really the turning point that helped me transition back into racing. And then not long after that, about 18 months, I was racing in the Xfinity Series, which was, racing in the top 3 series, Trucks, Xfinity, or Cup, was always my goal growing up. Obviously, the Cup Series is the ultimate goal, but to be able to race at that high of a level in our sport is just something that's I think every race car driver dreams of doing, and I've been so fortunate to be able to do that.
Right, yeah. I mean, obviously, this hasn't been a setback because you still achieved, so much success throughout your career. So, and I mean, like you mentioned, all the different pieces of technology that go into that. But when you were finally able to after that pause, that brief hold on your career, when you were finally able to get back in the truck, start racing again, what was that feeling like for you?
It's unbelievable. It's hard to put in words. When you, like I said, I've been racing by the time I was 17, I've been racing for 13 years. It was just something that was a huge part of my life. It was, at least twice a month for 8-9 months out of the year. I was racing, and then I was diagnosed in February of 2011. And I don't think that I raced for about 5 months after that, 6 months after that. As I learned how to manage diabetes, and then obviously learn how to manage it while racing. There were huge obstacles. So, I didn't know what to do with myself not being in the race car. And so, those challenges that I think, really helped me, really focused me on how important racing was to me, and just what I was willing to do to achieve it. I think that it definitely, lit a fire and was a source of motivation that I hadn't had, previous to being diagnosed. And
right.
From there, it was just, whatever I got to do, however much work I got to do, no matter what, nutritionist I got to work with, or no matter what, I have to do to manage my diabetes. There was nothing that I wasn't, no lengths I wasn't willing to go to. And, I think ultimately after being diagnosed, I was a better athlete. I was more focused. And, I took everything a lot more seriously after that, because obviously it didn't come near as easy. There was a lot more work that had to go into it after my diagnosis.
Right, yeah. That's what I was going to point out next. Having to kind of adapt to new maybe training regimes and all this different stuff that goes into racing. Because it's obviously already difficult enough without having to deal with this kind of extra obstacle. So that transition, what was that kind of like, being able to try and adapt to this new way that you were going to have to start racing?
Yeah, it was a lot. I grew up, my routine was go to high school and then go to the shop and work on race cars. The gym wasn't really something that I was that focused on, and nutrition wasn't something that I was that focused on. And after I was diagnosed, it really, changed all that for me. I still worked on a lot of my own race cars as I was, after I moved back to North Carolina. But it was like, okay, I've got to take care of myself first. I've got to be, I've got to train. I've got to eat right. I've got to, take the time really take care of myself and be an athlete. And then, slowly as I climbed the ladder into full-time NASCAR racing, that shifted, and, the teams are so advanced, and they have, everybody on the team has a role, and my role became being a driver, and whatever I got to do to be the best race car driver. And obviously knowing the mechanics of the race car is so important. But, the biggest role I had was to be as prepared as possible when I strap in that thing. So, I think it really, just with every step I took in my career, it just amplified it that much more. And I wanted to work that much harder. I wanted to train harder. I wanted to take my nutrition more seriously. I just wanted to be the best that I could possibly be at my craft. And, I think that is something that, really helped me. It's something that really, kind of allowed me to take advantage of the opportunities as I got them, and as I grew into the sport.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, truly kind of an inspirational story there, especially as you're, like I said, still attaining so much success, kind of in the prime of your career. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for your time. Where can our listeners go to get more info or just connect with you?
Yeah, I mean, I think social media is always a great way. I'm
right.
on Instagram and Twitter. My Twitter and Instagram handle is @driverRyanReed. So show some love. Check out Twitter and Instagram, and you'll see a lot about the Vegas race, and then what I got coming up next.
There you go, guys. Make sure to check out the social media. Stay up to date with everything going on in the racing world of Ryan Reed. Thank you so much again, Ryan.
For singers looking for a fun, all-in-one wireless karaoke mic with a built-in mixer speaker and its own light show, Voco Pro's pop-up Oki microphone is for you. It connects to a smartphone or tablet via Bluetooth and accesses YouTube and numerous karaoke apps for hours of entertainment. An onboard MP3 player allows singers to perform recorded MP3 tracks. Its multicolored LED light with on-off switch will automatically dance to the beat of the music, adding visual excitement to any karaoke session. Find it at vocopro.com.
You ready to hoop it up? This is Happenings on the Hardwood.
All right, guys, as always, at the end of the Sports Watchdog Radio Show here on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060 Phoenix, we're going to pivot on over to the Hardwood, talk some hoops a little bit, and, since the All-Star break, the games have been in kind of full force. Lakers, my team, you guys know this, I'm going to talk about them. Obviously a slow start out of the break. LeBron has said some words, distractions, and among other things, injuries. Obviously, Lonzo Ball is still not back. He's going to be reevaluated next week. This team is a playoff caliber roster with LeBron. The time he spent injured definitely really hurt them. As noted by their losing streak during that time. But one positive note, Brandon Ingram has really been balling for the Lakers so far. He's really been facilitating, scoring, kind of doing everything that you wanted out of Brandon Ingram. And he's really contributing. Now in other news around the league, Miami Heat have been putting on some pretty good performances. Dwayne Wade, Father Prime, hitting a game winner this past week against the Golden State Warriors. That was a flashback. That was pretty cool. He actually, the play, he drove in the paint, kicked it out to Dion Waiters, who got double teamed, which freed Dwayne Wade at the top of the key 3-point line. Waiters kicks it back to Wade, and then Wade holds it as Kevin Durant jumps over him. It wasn't a pump fake. He kind of just bent down like he was going to shoot it, and then just held that pose, and Kevin Durant jumped right over him. And then he tried to let go of the shot. It's like 1.4 seconds left on the clock, and he gets blocked. He gets the ball back, though. It kind of falls right back in his arms, and he one leg just throws up a prayer, banked in. Dwayne Wade wins the game for the Miami Heat. That was kind of a remarkable shot. He sprints around, jumps on the broadcast booth, pumps his chest 3 times, and, that's awesome to see Dwayne Wade, hitting a shot like that, especially in his final season, one last dance. Got a lot of praise from people around the league. Definitely a really cool moment for his career, especially just beating the Warriors in that fashion. And then they only lose to the, I'm talking about the Heat. The Heat only lose to the Rockets by a handful of points. It might have even just been one possession. Harden drops 58 in that game, though. That's tough. And Dwayne Wade said after that James is one of the most unguardable players in NBA history. Now, pretty big praise, but you have to remember Harden went on that 30-plus points per game streak I think, over 30 games. So, I mean, pretty remarkable numbers from him this season. And lots more storylines to follow in the association. Will the Kings make the playoffs? I mean, playing well right now. Will the Lakers make their final push? Which Western Conference team is going to come out of it? Is Denver going to challenge the Warriors in the playoffs? How's Houston going to fare in the playoffs? And then out of the Eastern Conference, Giannis and the Bucks, can they sustain their level of play? Can the Celtics turn around their losing streak with Kyrie Irving? What other teams are going to impress? Toronto, Orlando, these teams that are kind of surging. What is going to happen as the playoffs draw near? Well, that's a wrap, everyone. Anybody wanting to connect with me, the Sports Watchdog, on Twitter can do so at @sportswatchdog, and on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube as well at the Sports Watchdog. So until next time, keep your eye on the ball.
The Sports Watchdog. The Sports Watchdog, Mason Kern.